For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
Most people still today think that all entertainment to do with movies, drama, is therefore nothing more than their entertainment. It never ever was that case. The greatest social messages are promoted through movies and drama, high drama, through the fixation of emotive sequences, emotional sequences, not logical, factual sequences, but pushing points across in an emotional way which register and fix in the mind. So emotional content is very, very important, rather than going through an actual discussion or an argument using logic and facts. There's no debate. And when you're being downloaded through fiction, your guard is down, the sensor part of your brain is not in action as you would in a debate or a lecture. You're actually in an alpha state, being completely downloaded with new ideas.
Knock, knock, anybody homo?
It's just a TV show, a situation comedy, not even a drama.
Tonight at dinner, I'll tell my mother I'm gay.
But Vice President Biden has credited Will and Grace with changing America's attitudes about same-sex marriage.
I think Will and Grace probably did more to educate the American public than almost anything anybody's ever done so far.
On this, supporters and opponents of same-sex marriage agree. Hollywood has been incredibly influential in encouraging acceptance of gays and lesbians. It was through the medium of television that millions of Americans first had open gays and lesbians in their living rooms.
I can accept the fact that he's gay, but why does he have to slip a ring on this guy's fingers?
It was even fodder for the Golden Girls.
Everyone wants someone to grow old with, and shouldn't everyone have that chance?
I'm Pedro. Pedro, how you doing?
In 1994, Pedro on The Real World San Francisco introduced a gay man with HIV/AIDS to millions of then teenagers. He died that year and was praised by President Clinton.
I have AIDS.
It helped to create an environment of acceptance, where more and more gays and lesbians came out of the closet.
Very similar to a computer. The flicker rate on the television is very, very important. It was timed to be so many cycles per second, and it actually just meets with the brain patterns for an alpha state. When our brain sees it through our eyes, we start to adopt that flicker rate in our mind, and we go into a deep alpha state. Watch children and watch their mouths. They drop open. They won't hear their parents talking. They're hypnotized, in fact. Why would they give that particular flicker rate when they could have chosen of a whole variety of flicker rates? It wasn't an essential thing to have. So it was done for a purpose. It was meant to be hypnotic. It was meant to be used as a tool of propaganda and indoctrination, even through the guise of entertainment.
The longer a person watches television, the more easily the brain slips into alpha level, a slow, steady brainwave pattern in which the mind is in its most receptive mode. Images and suggestions are implanted directly into the mind without viewer participation. An effective hypnosis is induced, and the viewer surrenders to the unending television image stream.
Let's talk about the effects of the alpha state first of all. Recent articles I've even read on the air from various science studies show you that even when you switch off television, you remain in that alpha state for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, depending on how long you've been watching it. With high definition, again, why would a president of a country mandate that all TVs had to go high definition? Is it because he really cares so much about your happiness? And he wants better quality for you? Or is there another reason for it? Well, I'm sure the effects of the old flicker rates and what it did will also be incorporated in high definition, but with even more added benefits for bringing you into a complete hypnotic state. You understand that it's even worked out towards different age groups. There's something on for everybody's age group. Each age group is actually being updated as well, even the elderly ones. into new ways of thinking or seeing things. But the target mainly was for youngsters.
There's a good chance you've turned to Disney for your kids' entertainment over the years. After all, the company prides itself on being the largest family-centric media company in the world. So as a parent, you'd think that Disney would do their due diligence to make sure that their shows are safe and suitable for children of all ages to watch. At least that's the idea. While that may have been the case for the last few decades, quite a bit has changed these days. The new Disney has a new agenda, and it's one they're pretty open about. They want to indoctrinate young kids with their leftist gender and LGBT ideology.
So, like, I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness. No one would stop me, and no one was trying to stop me.
In part, I think nobody stopped us because we were targeting Gen Z and millennials.
They're intentionally going after children.
Like, I love Disney's content. I grew up watching, all of the classics.
I mean, I think it's time for us as Christian parents to take inventory. I mean, don't just sit back and assume that all the things that were okay when you were a child is still okay.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them.
We've provided training for all of our cast members in relationship to that.
As my son texted me this morning, Gen Z is 30 to 40% queerer than the other generation's mom, so Disney better get with it.
And in May of last year, Disney announced a reboot of the fan favorite show Proud Family. But this time it would feature a racial activist high schooler with, you guessed it, two gay dads.
Meet my husband. Hey, big fella.
Because if there's one thing we know, it's that if your kids' shows aren't full of woke social justice warriors, how will your viewers know where you stand on these important issues?
All you have to do is keep giving them new updates every so often, and you can change an entire country or a nation or a block of nations who are all getting the same upgrades at the same time along certain paths. But it's all implanted subconsciously in their mind, because those implants, those subconscious implants, will become their opinions, and they will never know how they arrived at them.
Transgender boys who might not have their own money to go buy tampons, if they're provided free in the bathroom, it's a huge plus.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body menstruated at
If
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not
excluding
men.
a whole group of people
They're women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men. You are not a man. You can pretend to be a man, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Live your life and tell me what a man is.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example?
science.
When we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You're just making it up. The people who hate the truth, are because they see the truth as hateful. If you want to identify in any way you can, you're free to do so. But that does not mean that the rest of us have to join that illusion. You disagree, I disagree with you, and so you call it hate. But there's no hate in my heart at all, so that's
You
wrong.
are being hateful when you tell somebody that identifies as a man that they're not a man.
That's not hateful, that's a fact.
Most people want to belong to their peer group. They want to be the same as everyone else when it comes to opinions. In fact, they judge their own personal sanity by bouncing ideas off their neighbors and friends who will answer back and agree on these same topics in kind. It doesn't matter if the topics or what you're given are facts or utter nonsense, as long as everyone agrees at the same time. You'll say, well, I'm sane, and your friends will all agree because they've had the same information given to them. We don't only get the same information given to us, we're led through sequences, even documentaries, to leave you with a predetermined fixed conclusion on any given topic. Most folk are once again unaware of this. They think, I've just been given all the facts on this topic, And this is the obvious conclusion, which is always given to you by the final experts on the particular program.
Why is it important for educators to teach about gender identity, gender presentation, and pronouns? Why do you think that's important?
Because there is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex, and then there's gender, and that's a social construct in the sense that just because you're born biologically a female doesn't mean you automatically want to vacuum, for instance, which is usually a feminine activity or conflated that way. And so it's this idea of giving children in age-appropriate ways an understanding that these things aren't set in stone. Gender identity is not tied to biology.
If you notice too, they don't even discuss the topics once the news is read to them to each other. They've both been downloaded with the opinions. You don't have to ask what their opinion is. It's going to be the same one as you've been downloaded with, left by the expert. We tie this in with the Brzezinski. Brzezinski said in 2 Ages. Now this guy was way up with the NSA. He's a master geopolitician. He admits he works in 20, 50-year periods to do with geopolitics in other countries. But he said himself, the public will shortly be unable to think or reason for themselves. He says it was meaning by the form of information that was given to them, the type, the formulas that were in use then in the 1970s. And eventually, he said, they will expect the media to do all their thinking and reasoning for them. Well, that's happened today. That's why people today can't think outside of the programming from television, which contain little human dramas as the hook that you identify with to make you watch the whole story. The child gets kidnapped, detective goes on a hunt, he goes through hell and fire to get that child back. You identify with the hero if you're a male, you'll identify with the heroine if you're female. And that's the hook to get you to watch them. The human story is just the bait to make you watch through it, to get you to identify with it. Because once again, there's always a message left somewhere in the movie. It might even be a message that's against your own morality.
The rich and powerful, they take what they want. We steal it back for you. And sometimes bad guys make the best good guys. We provide leverage.
And it's sometimes that kind of thing can be justified. That's how you're downloaded through entertainment. It's there to alter and direct and always upgrade into another step of the direction that the entire culture for someone else's purpose.
But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.